Welcome to the Mike Stone Show, episode 1. I named it that because the famous Evan Carmichael said, don't overthink the name of your show. It can literally just be called Your Name and Show. And I was like, Mike Stone Show. My whole life is the Mike Stone Show. I like it. This should be the first video you watch if you want to buy an investment property in Sedona. We're going to talk about Sedona properties. I focus on short-term rentals and investors, and I can also help residential buyers. I know how to optimize your investments in this market, and I have the best contractors to get everything done. Interior, exterior, pool, backups, whatever you need, including full-scale renovations, and truthfully, that is oftentimes the best way to enter the Sedona market with some value add. Because a lot of the homes in Sedona are older, and a refresh will make your investments skyrocket in price as a matter of ARV and enhance the experience for your guests. Sedona is shaped like the number 7, and there are 7 parts to know about. Really 4, but I broke it into 7 to be a little bit more specific because I really like the Sedona 7 thing. So I'm going to pull up my map and we're going to talk. And as always, you can reach me directly on @MikeStoneGroup on Instagram. That's really where I direct traffic. Just send me a DM. If you comment below, I'll also likely see it and get back to you. Or, more guaranteed, email me at MikeStoneGroup@gmail.com and we will set up a bespoke consultation. Bear with me as I learn all the buttons. This is episode number 1 and I just learned how to change the colors. I've already had to stop the show to stop my dog from terrorizing the dressing room, or as my girlfriend calls it, the bedroom. So, you know, we're pulling this together, work in progress. If by the time you see this, I've learned how to put things on the video screen, I will list the 7 things. If not, I will rattle them off. So feel free to grab a pen and paper. I hope to make this dense with value, so maybe put down a couple notes and start creating a plan, an actual investment plan. So this is what I call the Sedona 7. Again, Sedona is shaped like the number 7, so I am going to pull up my map and let's get started. There's got to be a screen share. There is a screen share. Look at me. I'm Evan Carmichael. If you don't know who that is, Google it or YouTube it. You should. Okay, now I'm hoping you didn't just see that I'm cheating with a teleprompter, but by the time we get rolling into the map, I won't be. All right, so where you put your pen down is West Sedona. See how it's shaped like 7? Where you put your pen down is West Sedona. That is number 1. Drag your pen across the 7 to the top right corner of the 7. That is number 2. This is Sedona proper. Nobody knows how to pronounce this word right here. It is Talakipaki. The Talakipaki is an outdoor mall. Can you see that right there? Talakipaki. See if I can get that up on the map. There you go. T-L-A-Q-U-E-P-A-Q-U-E. This is an outdoor mall. I'll get into the specifics of it. But first, let's just go through the list. That is number 2, Sedona proper. Now, if you go halfway down the shaft of the 7, this is Chapel, the Chapel area. So what you'll be able to notice is all the streets in this area. This is Chapel. If you go now all the way down to the bottom, that is Village of Oak Creek, VOC. I'll explain each of these as we go. But if you go back up then to Sedona proper, and imagine there was a little accent mark, or a single quote, a little prime indicator. This is what we're going to call Uptown Sedona. Still technically considered Sedona proper, but I am going to separate it for the reasons that I'll go through when I explain everything. If you're above the 7, number 6, this is North Sedona. It's also known as 7 Canyons. And then last, south of West Sedona and west of South Sedona is not Sedona. Just kidding. No, we'll call it Red Rock State Park. This whole area, which I will also explain. So let's go through each of these quick for context. So now let's go back to here. You see the whole 7. So here in West Sedona, this is where you will find the most high-end homes. It's the nicest part of residential Sedona. There are a lot of Airbnbs. Not too many that it's not worth investing in. It is far from saturated. And that's the cool thing about Sedona in general, is this market is not untapped. There are plenty of Airbnbs, but it is very unsophisticated, and therefore it's very easy to win. West Sedona in particular has some of the nicest Airbnbs, and even those are not particularly amazing. So if you come in and you work with my contractors, or others if you have your own, which I doubt, I will show you the best contractors, even the backups. You can interview a few of everybody, but I have my very clear favorites. If you come in with contractors and you bring some value to these properties and add the high-end amenities, add the professional design. I have a phenomenal in-house designer, Ava Kate. Her brand is called Kate & Co. It's a subsidiary of my company, and we will do everything for you end-to-end, completely vertically integrated from this acquisition with me to the actual project management. I can oversee the contractors to do the renovation, and then the professional short-term rental specific design. We'll bring it all to life for you so that you can maximize your investment, because very, very few, if not nobody, really is doing the high-end amenities and design. And so West Sedona is my favorite neighborhood in the best market. It's why it's number one on the list, not just because that's where you put your pen, but also because that is the best neighborhood where if you bring life to the property and you grow that ARV, you will not overshoot the market, which won't be true of other markets that we'll talk about within Sedona, where the rest of this $1 and $2 and even $3 million neighborhood, if you bring a property that is already, let's say you buy it at $1.2 million and you add 500,000 of value, you can get it to the 2.9 and you won't overshoot the market. 1.9, I meant to say 1.9. If you had 1.2, add 500, maybe you're at 1.9, maybe you're at 2.2, maybe you're at 2.3, depending on what you do and how much you add. You can be in a market that then the neighborhood supports it and you won't be the prettiest house in the ugly neighborhood. Now we'll go across and we'll stay focused just on what I'm going to call Sedona proper. Sedona proper, when I say that, what I'm referring to in this number 2 is specifically the residential area. Uptown Sedona, later we will discuss the tourist parts and the fun stuff to do later. Right now, look here and you see these roads. This is Sedona proper, and then this here is Sedona proper. I'm looking at a phenomenal deal right now. It's Schneebly Hill. It's got to be, where is it? It's going to be right up here. I think this is exactly the house. Yep, 82 Sedona View Drive. This property right here is phenomenal. You could literally walk down here, walk up here, and you're in the tourist area that we'll discuss later. This area right here. So having that immediate access to the tourist spot has value. There are other investors who prefer not to be in the touristy area, and that's why I'll show you some of the other parts of Sedona. But if you want to be able to just walk into the restaurants and bars that we'll talk about, that area, and then this area is what I'm referring to in part 2, Sedona proper. Come down here a little bit to Chapel. Again, you see the gray is the roads. I love the Chapel area because it has great access to hiking. There are 2 things that really carry the day for your revenue and your cash flow in this market, in Sedona. It is views and access to hiking. I live in Scottsdale. I'm actually moving to Sedona as soon as I can, but I currently live in Scottsdale. The same way I would never tell an investor to invest in Scottsdale or Phoenix without a pool, I would never tell someone to invest in Sedona without views. There are very, very, very limited exceptions. The same way I've actually managed properties. I've had a property management company here in Phoenix and Scottsdale for the last 4 or 5 years. I just sold it like 5 weeks ago. And I did have properties that were cash flowing phenomenally without a pool, with specific exceptions, excellent design, and you have to really operate it clean. You have to be a high-level elite operator with excellent systems and excellent marketing, guest-oriented, to be able to keep those properties full. I have a lot of strategies for that we'll talk about in other videos, but here, the views are the most important thing, and then you reverse engineer it from there. I don't advise investing here without amazing red rock views. The second most important thing is access to hiking, and the reason that's secondary is because A, not everybody is going to do a hike, which is rare. Most people will. It's very outdoorsy as far as this whole market is concerned, but also because you're always within 2 to 8 minutes of a drive from a trailhead, no matter where in Sedona on the 7 that you are. So it's easy to get there. So that's why I put that second behind. Views are absolutely mandatory, and then access to hiking. Some of these properties in Chapel, you literally could walk out your backyard and you are on a hiking trail or near a trailhead, or you can walk up the street or take a bike and you're right there. Otherwise, maybe it's a 2-minute drive. So you see a trailhead here, that's a great one. Trailhead here, that's a great one. Very easy access, and then you see all these green trails throughout. The other one that's amazing is if you take a short drive down here, you could start at Cathedral Rock trailhead. Cathedral Rock is our most famous trail. I've hiked it so many times. That's right down here. You just quick walk right down here. The cool thing about Cathedral Rock, I actually have a video about this on my Instagram. Maybe I'll repost it or link it in the bio. Link it below. Oh, I've never said that before. Like and subscribe. Links below. Cathedral Rock. If you walk 80% of the trail, it's very easy and it's beautiful. And then there's a large landing where you will see most people. You will also notice, or at least I'm telling you, that is where most people quit. Because the last 20% of that trail is difficult. A little bit of hands and knees. You have to actually go up a steeper slope. And when you get to the top, the views are immaculate. The views are great from the 80%, but the views are that much better from that 100% when you go all the way up through Cathedral Rock to the top and you oversee the entire city and you oversee all of the mountains and all the red rocks and all of what I call the green rocks, where you see, this is a bad example, but here where there's a lot of trees that grow onto the red rocks, if it's completely covered in trees, I call that green rocks. I don't think that's a real term. I coined that. But you can see all of that from the top. And I always found that to be a metaphor for life. Most people will do 80% of the work and they will stop and they'll have pretty good results because that's comfortable. It's easy to navigate, it's not tiring, and then you get to that 80% and it's pretty nice. But for those of us who want to go that extra 20%, the difficult part, your views will be 80% better by making it to the top. So I strongly recommend this trail. I strongly recommend a lot of the other trails that branch off of it. But if you're going to do the Cathedral Rock Trail, go all the way to the top. You're that kind of a person. You're that kind of an investor. You get the 100% results for the 100% of the effort. So this is Chapel. The homes here are a little bit less expensive most of the time than West Sedona. That's not a blanket rule. We can find West Sedona properties at the same price point as Chapel properties. Let's say if these go up to 2 and even 3 million, then these will go around just under 1 to just over 1 million. And there are some cool properties because of the access to the trails that will have phenomenal views as well. Then we come down, number 4, remember the 7, so put your pen down, across, down, halfway down the shaft, and now the bottom. This is Village of Oak Creek, VOC. The thing with VOC, there's nothing really wrong with it, but it is littered with HOAs, which to me is a deal breaker. I'm also not at all a fan, even if you're a residential buyer, of HOAs. If you disagree, sure. I am adamantly against HOAs. I like freedom and property rights, and I don't think, and certainly as a matter of focusing on my short-term rental investor clients and even general investor clients, I'm anti-HOA. If we find a deal here that is outside of an HOA, there's nothing wrong with VOC. But that's just something to be mindful of when you're searching, whether it's Zillow or I'm searching for you using the MLS, or I use Zillow a lot too, even as a realtor. You just have to be mindful that most properties are in HOAs, which to me is a deal breaker. The other cool thing about VOC, it is less expensive. So if you're trying to get into Sedona and not pay West Sedona prices, this is a great way to get there. I have looked at several properties even for myself this year where I may buy because there's value add opportunities for some appreciation on a potentially older property, but have immediate access to hiking here. Jack's Canyon is a very popular trail, a trailhead that branches off to some more. And there you go, you probably take it up to the north and end up here. Bell Rock, super famous Bell Rock right here, and Bell Rock trailheads right there. So like I said, you're always at 2 to 5, maybe 8 minutes to a trailhead, including really good ones like Bell Rock and Jack's Canyon. So that's VOC number 4. Number 5, what did I put on 5th on the list? Did I say was Uptown? I believe this is when we're going to Uptown, yes. So number 5, Uptown Sedona. Let's get into this. This is the touristy area. That's one of the other values of VOC, is being outside of the tourist area. I've spoken with many investors who prefer that, especially when they want it for personal use. There's not as much, we'll call it traffic, relative term to Sedona. In general, Sedona has very, 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 very minimal traffic. It's not really a thing. You'll notice a ton of roundabouts. That really controls our traffic, so it's super easy. Everybody's very respectful. They drive relatively slow. But if you really want to be in the middle of the action, it's more north. If you don't, it's more south. This is the action, and right here, Broom and Orchard. I don't know if it's coming up. Yes, it says recently viewed. I click this constantly. This is the best restaurant in Sedona. They are not giving me a kickback for saying that. They just feed me well, and I take all my clients there because that is a phenomenal place to eat with views just forever. It opens up to amazing red rocks, phenomenal food, phenomenal management, phenomenal service. They upgraded it. It used to be cool. It used to be a place called Soundbites Bar and Grill. Soundbites Bar and Grill was famous because a lot of entertainers would come there, and famous people, celebrities, athletes, and anybody who was a musician would leave an album cover and sign it, and they would put that on the wall. So it was super cool. They ended up overhauling it, I think, earlier this year, if not the end of last year. As I'm recording this, it's July 2025. I think they did a fantastic job making it an upscale design. The prices are entirely reasonable and fair for a nice, luxurious meal. That is also in this area. I think they call it Pinion Shops because there's a hotel here, Pinion Point, Hyatt Vacation Club at Pinion Point. That's a fine hotel. I've stayed there before with my girlfriend. It was okay. It was better than okay. I liked it. But there's another hotel that I'll show you guys just while we're here, right here on Airport Road on the edge of West Sedona, called Skyrock, a tribute portfolio hotel. This is my go-to. I love this hotel. You can also see right here, can I pull it up? Yeah, views forever as well of red rocks and the city and greenery, and it's just magnificent. The beds are cleaner, the floors are tile or LVP or something. It's not gross carpet. The service is immaculate. Let me see if I have it right here. Every time you check into the Skyrock Hotel, they give you a little crystal or a rock, and it has something on it. This one says wealth. I have one that says focus. Every time I go, I get myself a little rock. And anyway, speaking of rocks, that brings me back here to Uptown. Besides just amazing restaurants and the hotels, you have the crystal shops, which is super popular. I highly recommend, if you're in Sedona, you got to check them out. Even if you're not all woo-woo, I'm a little woo-woo. If you're not all the way woo-woo, it's still worth checking out because it's just beautiful. Like the green malachite, the red money rocks as cinnabar quartz, which literally people from Asia will fly in just to Sedona just to get the money rock, this cinnabar quartz. It's the vibrations of the crystals and the rocks that make people feel good and connected in different ways specific to the rocks. They have so many, every colors you haven't even thought of in these different crystals. It's so beautiful. And you got coffee shops, restaurants, bars. You'll also notice a few landscape resorts. The L'Auberge, actually I didn't need to say the because that's the L, L'Auberge. There's also Ambiente is somewhere near here, which is upscale, yep, there you go, Ambiente Landscape Hotel. And then there's a few others. We can talk about that if you're interested, but for now, this is all the touristy spot, which actually what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to show you this. How do I get a good, this is going to be annoying, Google images of Uptown Sedona. And let's go to Google Images. Okay, that wasn't so hard. So there is some of the shops. That's a restaurant. Some of the shops here, you just literally walk up one side of the road and down the other, and you see all sorts of different, it's the Arts District, Arts Center. I don't know the Arts Center. I was hoping that was the Arts District, but something like that. Cowboy Corral, oh, that's not what I was thinking. Cowboy Club is right near here. I know this area. I think it might be just behind where the Oak Creek Marketplace is. These are a lot of souvenir shops. Cowboy Club is a fantastic restaurant too. American food, but not super greasy, but like burgers, pulled pork, bison. Oh, it's just fantastic. And then so as you're walking up and checking out these souvenir shops and restaurants, you can grab a coffee, check out the sculptures, check out the red rocks coming up over the buildings. It's really just a beautiful, beautiful area. Here's Talakipaki that I was mentioning earlier. If you walk through here, a lot more restaurants, shops, bars. This is certainly walking distance from that Uptown Sedona area. And there's just, this area, Talakipaki, reminds me of a European piazza where everybody's kind of just outside hanging out. They're eating their ice cream, drinking their coffee, socializing. Wonderful, wonderful area. All right, let's go back to our map. This is all Uptown and phenomenal spot to spend time. So now that's also partly the reason that West Sedona is, let's say, higher value properties than, and will likely be higher revenue depending on what you do at your investment property, than Village of Oak Creek, which is maybe, this drive is probably 15 minutes to Uptown, and then 20 or 30 minutes to the far end of West Sedona. This whole 7 is probably a 30-minute drive from West Sedona. I'm doing a deal right here on Color Cove Road. right now. We're about to close in a week on a phenomenal property. This guy's gonna make it immaculate. It is a bit run down right now. I think it's currently a 4-bedroom. We're gonna make it a 7-bedroom with every amenity you could think of on 2.5 acres, dirt bike path, pool, sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, amazing landscape design. And then the inside of the property is gonna be an immaculate Kate & Co design from my in-house designer, Ava Kate. So that's Color Cove. If you drove all the way from Color Cove through Main Sedona, down through Chapel, and then down to VOC, that's probably 30 minutes. So that is basically all that. Last thing I want to show you that I just thought of before we move on is just this picture. Chapel of the Holy Cross. The reason this is called chapel, there's like every denomination of church and whatever else in this part of Sedona for the locals, or you if you want to. But this is also, so chapel is pretty cool. If you go, an overhead view of chapel will be this is the outside. This is like our iconic postcard. I'll see if I can get an overhead view. This is, walking into the church, inside the church. And then, is there an overhead view? I want to show you. Looks like there is not going to be one. Oh, this is good enough. So this is what I was trying to say is you can, it's not good enough. But I think this is from the chapel facing out. Basically, you walk down a cool path like this, and then there's a road that's a little bit windy. And you also have access to hiking trails right from there. Nobody seems to take aerial pictures. That gets saved here. But anyway, super cool. Let's go back now to where we were before. Okay, we did 5 uptown Sedona, so now 6 is going to be here. We're going to call this North Sedona. It's actually called 7 Canyons. There's a golf club here for you golfers, which is a good avatar for Sedona as well. It's not the world's best golf, like Scottsdale has some of the best golf in the world. This is not that. But there is a cool golf course, which I'm going to show you a deal right now. Kai de Vickers. The thing that frustrates me about this deal currently on the market, been on the market a long time, I know the agent here, he's fantastic. I hate the photos from this listing because it doesn't show you the golf course. But look at these views of red rocks and what I call green rock forever. This is a green rock because it's just a red rock covered in trees. These are the red rocks that are honestly much more bright in person, which brings me to my point. This golf course, is this green? Maybe more so. You can kind of compare with the leaves that are also greener in real life. This is an effervescent electric green golf course. It is stunning. You are in the valley looking up at these red rocks. There's more red rocks off to the left here that are, I think, closer, which makes them seem taller than these. This golf course is so nice. So nice. I'm not even a golfer, but I actually don't like golf much at all. To play is just a day hanging out with my friends in the grass. I can keep up, but I'm not even really keeping my own score. But even I, as that level of golfer, don't even know my own handicap. Love this golf course. So that is North Sedona. The other cool thing here is Devil's Bridge. Devil's Bridge is also where see in the photos. So you'll notice here, I'm standing, if I'm the photographer, I'm standing on safety. You would walk out a little bit more to the right and around this way, and then you get onto this is Devil's Bridge. As you could tell, it's taller than really, really tall trees. If you fall off, there is no turning back. That is the end of you forever. I don't have any, to me, the value of walking along this and doing the picture that this lady is taking isn't worth it. I love my life. I have a great life. I love my career. I am going to do very cool things for the next 100 years that I'm alive. I'm gonna live to 132. This is the fastest way to end your life, just to be able to take this picture. No, I'm all good. I'm all set. Most people disagree with me and do this. I have a story though, a brief story. I once saw right where that lady is standing, a guy, must have been around my age, give or take, 5 years. I mean, so standing right there, oh, there it is in the snow, that's gorgeous. He was doing a handstand to impress a bunch of girls who were sitting right here. I think they were his friends, but to my point, like, why would you do that? Just in no world is that worth it to me. So this is the part where you go on the right. I've gone this far, and then that picture basically aligns right here, and then you walk off to the Devil's Bridge. I'm all set. Hard pass on walking on that part. If you'd like to get a photo like her, you can. See, I want a photo like this. My dog is a 75-pound pit bull. I wouldn't be able to hold him like that and make it all cute. But like, this to me is appealing, and views, this to me is not appealing. That's Devil's Bridge. The only reason to be there is Devil's Bridge and golf, and there's some other cool hiking there as well. That's also one of our most famous. The way Chapel is super famous, and Cathedral Rock is super famous. Devil's Bridge also super famous. But you know, I think checking out some of these hikes is a better use of your life and time. So that is number 6. Now number 7, I'm going to show you this just for full context. If I type in Sedona, technically this is where they draw the map line. Red Rock State Park is outside of it. There are not that many deals out there. Just because there's not that many homes out there, it's difficult to build. It is super mountainous. Amazing views if we do find a deal out there. Much less expensive as well. Still a bunch of HOAs to be aware of that we want to avoid. And I guess the reason why it's less expensive than, say, West Sedona, or even, it's probably on par with Chapel, maybe a little bit less, is that that's the farthest and least convenient way to get to uptown Sedona for tourism. So if we're talking about short-term rentals, and we're talking about guests and guest experience and all the things that they could do, this is the least accessible area, even compared to Village of Oak Creek, because you just jump on the 179 and 89A are our main roads. Jump on the 179, shoot right up. Like I said, 15 minutes, and it's not traffic, and it's beautiful drive. This will also be a beautiful drive, but you're going to be meandering through mountains and whatever to get there, so it's the least convenient. So I will find the least amount of deals there by quantity, but if we find one that's not any qualitative dismissal, it could still work. Same thing with Village of Oak Creek. It's not a qualitative dismissal. It is less fancy, certainly less high-end than West Sedona, but there are deals, and depending on your price point, your budget, your appetite for renovation, VOC and even Red Rock State Park are still entirely viable. So that said, just to wrap this up now, again, I could maybe put the list on the screen if I've learned how to do that, but the main 3 actually are within this box. If you search Sedona, this is really my favorite area. So you got West Sedona for the high end. You got Sedona proper for up here, and down here for walking distance to uptown Sedona. And you got Chapel, which is most likely your best things here will be lower price of entry and direct access to hiking. My preference, if I were going to invest, and I am, if I had all the money in the world and I said I could have any property I want or any location I want, or don't even make it all the money in the world, that's not going to apply to everybody. To be more generalized, I will say, if I could choose my favorite place to be, it would be the east side of West Sedona. Right here at my favorite hotel, Skyrock Hotel, Skyrock Sedona. This is my favorite area. So truthfully, I've also already helped. Mingus Mountain Road is right here. I've helped close 2 deals. I am about to go under contract on a 3rd on this road. This is honestly one of my favorite roads in Sedona for investing, but also because then you have all this view right here of mountains, but still you are, actually let me do it for you. I'm going to show you, I closed 20 Mingus Mountain Road, and let's do directions to, I got to get to Broom and Orchard. You see I live down by the airport. Broom and Orchard, favorite restaurant, is a 4-minute drive, 1.5 miles from here. Bang. And I also did 45 Mingus Mountain Road. So that's 1.5 miles right there. So other direction, same, one's looking at all this view, one's looking at all this this view. 45, I think he's on this side of the road. So he's looking out this way. I'll actually just point this out real quick. This is Sedona Airport. It's a private airport for private jets and very wealthy people. It is up on top of a mesa, which is basically a mountain that's a flat top. And it is just absolutely gorgeous. The one thing I'll say is it's not very busy because it's not commercial, and it's far enough away that it's not loud. I have never, from Mingus Mountain Road or otherwise, I've checked out properties here, I've stayed here, I've never heard an airplane going overhead. So, not something to worry about. And I'm up there constantly, so it is either, I'm up there for fun. I've been traveling up there for fun for years, before I even got into real estate, let alone I was a lawyer before this, and so I just had nothing to do with real estate. I was not up there. I was just strictly up there for pleasure. I would take my girlfriend, we'd go hang out and, do some hikes, meditate, vibes. Oh, that is the last thing I'm gonna wrap this video with, is the meditating. But anyway, yeah, I've been up there constantly, and now I'm up there every 1 or 2 weeks, sometimes 3 is a stretch for business. So the fact that I've never heard an airplane, you're totally fine. Last point I wanna make, and then we'll wrap. Sedona is known for its energy vortexes. Again, I'm a little bit woo-woo. I believe in that. I believe in the vibrations. I believe in energies. I believe in all of that stuff. There are people in Sedona who take it so much farther than I do. But the energy vortexes are definitively scientifically real. An energy vortex is where the energy above and below the earth actually are so powerful, and I don't know what barometers they're using to test it, but scientists have proven that the energy is different. And one way that you can see energy vortex, Sedona, juniper trees. One way that you know you're in an energy vortex, let's see what this says. One of the most fascinating physical manifestations of vortex can be observed in Sedona's juniper trees. Near powerful vortex centers, these trees often exhibit unusual growth pattern. This is what I was just going to say. Their trunks and branches twist in spiraling patterns that appear to follow the direction of the purported energy flow. So, I'm going to show you some. These juniper trees will grow normal in the rest of Sedona, even in Sedona. But what is otherwise a normal tree is now, you see how it's twisted and spiraled up here. Sometimes they're twisted and even bent, kind of like here. Here's a good one. There you go, that's a perfect example. They twist and bend and they warp, so that's one indicator that you are in an energy vortex. One other thing I know about these energy vortexes, I learned from another real estate agent. We were just getting coffee recently. Very cool guy. There's a cool example too right here, where it's spiraled. Not only spiraled around the bark, but also spiraling as it grows. Just, that's one indicator. So here's another thing, cool, fascinating thing about energy vortexes of Sedona. So Sedona has an aquifer underneath. Underneath that aquifer is a second aquifer. We literally have thousands of years of water. Phoenix is trying to get Sedona's water, and there's been decades of battle over water rights. Phoenix is also trying to get it from Colorado. Phoenix is absolutely screwed as far as water if we don't figure something out down here in the valley soon. Sedona has thousands of years of water reserves, and the water will also go out to 5 lakes just outside of West Sedona, where it will purify itself and then seep back into the earth and then can be reused through the city as potable water. When it remineralizes, coming back into the city, it is going through minerals like copper and other minerals that we literally use in electrical wires, and that amplifies the energy. So the electromagnetic energy that is then flowing through the city of Sedona combines with the water, and it just the same way you throw a hairdryer in a bathtub, the energy increases and it is less controlled. That is how it creates energy vortexes in Sedona. Sedona truly is like nowhere else on planet Earth. It is such a phenomenal place to be, place to experience. So if you are interested in learning more about Sedona, I am so happy to tell you more, and we can go deeper into any specific property, area, whatever you want to know about the market, whatever you want to know about the energy. I do have a lot more cool stories about that kind of stuff. I'll save that for other videos. I'm sure I get into that. Still just episode 1, so plenty more episodes to come. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found this valuable and interesting. Reach out to me. Like I said, you can always find me on Instagram at Mike Stone Group. You can always find me on email, mikestonegroup@gmail.com. And like I said, I have everybody that you need. So if you're looking to buy here, whether it's residential or more likely for me, I focus on short-term rental investors. If you're going to do some value add, I have every contractor you could possibly need, and they are fantastic. Better than any contractors I've worked with down here in Phoenix and Scottsdale for that matter. So I totally got you covered. Let me know whatever you need. Reach out. It'll be my pleasure to help you with a bespoke experience while we discuss what you specifically want, your preferences, your investment goals. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.